안녕하세요. 미국주식으로 은퇴하기 미주은입니다. 미주은 패밀리 여러분, 구정 연휴 즐거운 마음으로 보내고 계신지 모르겠습니다. 저와 우리 가족은요, 이제 타향살이가 너무 오래 지속되다 보니까요, 명절 연휴가 되면 느껴졌었던 괜한 들썩임이나 설레임을 잊은 지는 좀 오래됐고요. 이제는 왠지 모를 쓸쓸함이나 적막함마저도 조금씩 무뎌져 가는 것 같습니다. 한국에 계신 부모님께 연락을 드리다가 전해 들었는데요. 올해는 가족끼리의 모임도 쉽지가 않은 상황이더군요. 아직은 정상적인 삶이 그립기만 한 굉장히 어려운 상황이지만요. 오늘 힘이 될 만한 방송을 준비했으니까요. 미주은 패밀리 모든 분들 화이팅 하시기 바랍니다. 여러분들 모두 잘 알고 계신 것처럼요. 한국인들이 가장 많이 투자하고 있는 최고의 기업은요, 바로 테슬라입니다. 오늘 아침 살펴봤더니요, 한국인이 테슬라에 투자하고 있는 투자금이 이제는 100억 달러를 훌쩍 넘어서요, 110억 달러를 향해서 달려가고 있더군요. 투자금 순위를 보면요, 2위가 애플, 3위가 아마존, 4위가 엔비디아고요, 5위, 6위가 각각 마소와 구글인데요. 2위 애플부터 6위 구글에 들어가 있는 모든 자금을 합쳐도요, 테슬라의 100억 투자를 따라가기는 역부족인 것처럼 보입니다. 한국인들이 이렇게 사랑하는 기업 테슬라인데요. 이번 주 초에는 우리가 테슬라 관련해서 굉장히 충격적인 뉴스를 전해 들었습니다. 바로 테슬라가 비트코인에 투자를 시작했다는 건데요. 보시는 것처럼 테슬라가 비트코인에 15억 달러, 한화로 하면 약 1조 7천억 원 정도를 투자했다는 뉴스가 우리에게 들려왔습니다. 그래서 지금 가상 자산업계는 굉장히 흥분했다는 소식이 들리고 있고요. 우리 같은 일반 투자자들은요, 약간 걱정스러운 마음으로 현재의 상황을 지켜보고 있습니다. 자, 이렇게 테슬라가 비트코인에 투자를 시작하게 되면서요, 우리에게는 당연히 떠오르는 두 가지의 의문점이 생겼습니다. 그중 첫 번째는요, 당연한 거죠. 비트코인 과연 우리가 투자를 해야 하나? 이제는 일론 머스크도 투자를 시작했는데 나도 투자를 해야 되는 것이 아닌지, 이러한 의문에 매일 밤잠을 설치게 됩니다. 저 두 번째 의문은요, 우리가 가장 많이 투자하고 있는 기업이죠. 테슬라, 이대로 우리가 투자금을 넣어놔도 괜찮을지, 테슬라의 주가가 갑자기 급락하지는 않을지 굉장히 걱정스러운 마음이 있습니다. 자, 이렇게 여러분과 제가 가지고 있는 두 가지의 의문점에 대해서 고민을 해보다가요, 우리의 의문점을 속 시원하게 해소시켜줄 만한 특별한 인터뷰를 준비해봤습니다. 여러분들 기억하시겠지만 지난 10월에 우리는 미국 현지의 유튜버를 초대해서 굉장히 좋은 시간을 가졌었습니다. 그때 우리는 테슬라 주식에 투자를 해서 자산이 지금 수십억, 수백억에 가까운 데이브 리가 약 50배의 수익을 얻는다는 것을 발견을 했고요. 그리고 데이브 리가 추천하는 제2의 테슬라가 될 만한 그런 주식도 함께 알아봤었죠. 그리고 앞으로 약 5년 후에 테슬라의 주가가 어느 정도까지 올라갈 수 있을지 함께 산정해보는 그런 시간도 가졌었습니다. 이때 보시는 것처럼 뷰수가 굉장했었죠. 8만 1000뷰, 그리고 16만 6천 뷰까지 두 번째는 기록을 했고요. 세 번째 영상도 7만 1000뷰, 굉장히 인기가 많은 그런 방송이었습니다. 그리고 나서요, 데이브 리를 다시 초대해달라는 굉장히 많은 분들의 요청이 있었습니다. 그래서 제가 데이브 리한테 간곡하게 부탁을 드려서요, 드디어 우리 미주은 방송에 다시 모시게 됐습니다. 2020년 10월에 방송됐던 데이브와 저의 콜라보 방송을 아직 보지 못하신 분들을 위해서 설명을 드리면요, 데이브 리는 지금 미국 현지에서 유튜버로 활약하고 있고요. 현재 11만 7천 명 정도의 서브스크라이버, 구독자를 가지고 있습니다. 하지만 데이브는요, 테슬라에 있어서만은 마켓의 어떤 전문가 못지않은 굉장히 전문적인 지식과 그리고 해안을 가지고 있습니다. 그의 이야기를 들어보면요, 우리가 테슬라 투자에 대해서 어떠한 마음가짐, 그리고 어떠한 전략을 가지고 우리가 투자를 지속해 나가야 할지 굉장히 선명해지는 굉장히 묘한 매력을 갖고 있는 그런 유튜버이자 투자자입니다. 2021년 2월 13일 방송의 제목은요, 데이브 리 두 번째 인터뷰, 비트코인에 투자한 테슬라에 우리가 계속 투자해도 괜찮을까라는 제목으로 함께 준비해봤습니다. 이번 데이브와의 인터뷰는요, 1시간이 넘는 긴 시간 동안 진행됐기 때문에 파트 1, 2, 3로 나누어서 여러분들께 보내드릴까 합니다. 일단 파트 1은요, 테슬라의 비트코인 투자 소식, 데이브는 어떻게 받아들였는지 개인적인 소감을 한번 물어보고요. 두 번째로 일론 머스크가 비트코인에 투자하게 된 이유에 대해서 함께 고민해 보겠습니다. 세 번째로 테슬라가 투자하기 시작한 비트코인의 투자 가치는 과연 어떻게 될런지, 그리고 데이브 리는 개인적으로 비트코인에 투자하고 있는지 한번 물어봤고요. 마지막으로 비트코인에 투자하고 있는 테슬라에 우리가 계속 투자해도 괜찮을지 테슬라에 대한 투자 가치를 함께 생각해보는 시간을 마련해봤습니다. 지난 방송과 마찬가지로요. 오늘도 번역하고 자막하는 작업이요. 힘들다기보다는 굉장히 즐거울 정도로 그 내용이 좋았습니다. 여러분들 오늘 방송 그리고 다음 방송도 절대 미싱하지 마시고요. 끝까지 시청해 주시면 굉장히 유용한 정보 많이 받아가실 수 있습니다. 오늘 인터뷰에 등장하는 데이브의 개인적인 의견을 가감없이 전해드리고자 하는 저의 의도 때문에요. 저의 개인적인 평가는 포함하지 않았습니다. 따라서 오늘 Catch Me If You Want To는 생략하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 방송 보시기 전에 마음의 여유가 되신다면요. 구독, 좋아요 그리고 알람 설정 꼭 부탁드립니다. 우리가 구독, 좋아요, 알람 설정으로 계속 만나다 보면요. 함께 부자가 될 수 있습니다. 자, 그러면 4개월 만에 미주은에 다시 찾아온 데이브 리와의 인터뷰 바로 시작합니다.
Dave, thank you very much for joining us again with the 미주은 channel. It has been a while, actually. Our last collaboration was back in October, so it was already almost 4 months back. Time flies. Since then, I have had quite a few subscribers of mine asking me to invite you back to the channel because they loved our first video together. I think it is a perfect timing now because we had a huge news related to Tesla and Bitcoin from the beginning of the week.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for inviting me back. And I just love chatting with you and your subscribers, your viewers. I noticed more Korean subscribers on my channel.
Yes.
And, it's great. And I love your content as well. So I watched your Christmas special, singing with your family and lots of your other videos. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Me too. I was following your channel as well very closely. And I can see that the number of the subscribers is growing very fast recently.
Yeah, it's been surprising.
Yeah, big congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go for the first question. I think it was last Monday, the 8th of February. We found out that Tesla bought 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. Were you shocked? What was your initial reaction to the news as an investor who has a big position with the Tesla stocks?
Sure. So I was still in bed. I woke up and, was looking through a Twitter feed and I saw that, Tesla had announced a $1.5 billion purchase, right, of Bitcoin.
Yes.
And surprisingly, I wasn't that surprised because I thought that Elon Musk was seriously thinking about it. He had tweeted a lot about Bitcoin in January and about Dogecoin and crypto and so many things. Yeah. And there were a lot of people who were kind of pressuring him to think about purchasing Bitcoin with Tesla. And so I knew that they could think about it, but I thought that they wouldn't do it because it's too risky. I thought it would be a distraction for Tesla. And so I thought they wouldn't do it. So I was a bit surprised that they finally did decide to buy Bitcoin. And to be honest, my first reaction was, I wasn't that happy about the purchase. Yeah.
Okay. So in your opinion, why Elon Musk had decided to buy Bitcoin? What would be the main reasons for this big move?
Yeah, I think to understand why Tesla bought Bitcoin, we need to understand Bitcoin not as just an investment or as crypto, but Bitcoin as a movement. It's somewhat of a political movement and a sociological movement, an investment movement. But people are really getting dissatisfied with the government. They're getting dissatisfied with, in America, with the Federal Reserve printing money to get out of their problems, having so much debt. They're getting dissatisfied with income inequality. They're getting dissatisfied with so much about the current system that Bitcoin, for a lot of people, it offers a new alternative system and way of life almost, where it's separate from the government. It's almost what some people think a better alternative than what the government can offer. And I think Elon originally was very skeptical of Bitcoin for many years. And he talked probably with some people and he started to believe in Bitcoin as a way that perhaps the government could be kept in check, where the government might not have too much power and the people could gain more power. And I think for Elon, he wants to support the movement of Bitcoin. And one example is in America, or actually all over the place, we had the whole GameStop stock. So the GME stock was very hot. It exploded.
Yes.
And then it crashed. And there was so much dissatisfaction regarding Wall Street and hedge funds, and individual investors wanted a different way. And this feeling that so many people have of being powerless and being oppressed in some ways, it's very strong and it's growing in society. I think Elon Musk, he notices that, and he thinks Bitcoin can help actually people gain more power, gain more savings, and potentially be a good investment.
Yeah, I can see these days we have quite a few, I would say, campaigns or this kind of a revolutionary actions being taken by the public, right? So, being away from US, I cannot really feel the heat, but from the news and media, I can see that it's not normal situation. It's almost kind of war between the existing the power, I would say, authority, and then the public who didn't really have enough power to fight against. But now, because of the internet, we have a equal amount of information, and we can take actions together. And I think this kind of a trend could make a lot of changes in the stock market as well. What kind of thoughts do you have about this whole situation? Game stocks and Bitcoin being bought by several companies, and do you think this so-called decentralization could happen eventually, or do you think eventually there will be some risk movement from the government stopping everything? Because it's quite scary, to be honest.
Yeah. It definitely is scary. So a few thoughts. Number one is, I definitely see a growing trend of people gathering together, sharing information. I call it movement investment. So people getting in groups together and trying to push up a stock or put down a stock. And it's a new way of investing, where in the old days, the hedge funds, they used to kind of have dinners, private dinners together, and they call it ideas dinners. And they would talk about their investments or their short positions, and then they would go back and they would, invest that way. And but in today's world, we have the internet, and so now everyone in the world can gather up together to boost up a stock or press down a stock. And it's a different type of investing because it's very fast. Like everything happens so fast. In 1 or 2 days, everything changes.
Yes.
And the amount of information that comes is so fast. And I think there's potential if you could be the first, the early people, but there's danger if you're the followers, if you come in too late. And so I don't want to throw away that type of investing. I think there's a role of that type of investing. It's just that you should be first. You should be in the beginning. And if you come late, you should know that you're coming late and there's a lot of risk,
Yes.
late. I think with Bitcoin also, it's interesting because it's also a movement where people are publicizing it, they're marketing it. Bitcoin believers are very strong marketers too. They push the stock and they create their own demand. And so crypto currencies, as long as the demand grows, the price will grow usually, especially with Bitcoin because the supply is constant. So as long as more people want Bitcoin, then the price can increase. And so it's very, on one side, it could be dangerous because at a certain point, maybe there's no more demand. What if Bitcoin in 5 years gets to super high place, maybe $1 million, who knows? But what if it just reverses? The people stop wanting it, and there's a new, different type of technology, and then you could see the stock crash. But it could be very, very fast because it's all demand. Like the demand for the product, Bitcoin will take the coin up, but the demand possibly can take it down very fast. And so, my perspective is, if you're first, if you're early, that could be your advantage. It's a type of investing. But if you are late, just be aware of the risks, because it could go down faster than it goes up.
No, I absolutely agree with you, because I think that we are talking about kind of a currency. And when it comes to a currency, the most important thing for the value is trust, belief, right? Because at the end of the day, currency is all just coin and paper. So we give the value by trusting it, usually guaranteed by government. But in the case of Bitcoin, there's no guarantee from the government. It's people itself. We believe it, right? So
exactly, yeah.
And then now the amount of trust given to the currency of Bitcoin is getting higher and higher. That's why the value is going up. But like you said, eventually when we reach to the maximum level, that trust will only go down. And once we start to lose that trust, it could be falling down very quickly. Yeah, so it's quite scary. Do you believe that the Elon's decision to buy Bitcoin is a game changer for the Bitcoin's future?
I do, actually. I think it changes a few things. Number one is he is the wealthiest person in the world. Perhaps one of the most innovative entrepreneurs and business people. So many people look up to him. I think he has 45 million Twitter followers now. Mm-hmm. And so for him to become a Bitcoin supporter is a big deal. And then for Tesla, which is one of the largest companies in the world with market cap, for Tesla to invest $1.5 billion, it boosts up Bitcoin also. So it's not just Elon Musk, it's also Tesla. And Tesla is a S&P 500 company, one of the largest. So now it makes it easier for other companies. If they want to, they could put money into Bitcoin. It's possible, some companies do that. And the more companies put money into Bitcoin, then Bitcoin becomes even more pricey, or the demand could grow because people can get scared. So the fear of missing out. So, there's FOMO. People are scared of missing out. So they feel like Bitcoin is always going to go up. And so they just have to keep on buying it. And so the more the companies buy Bitcoin, it just fuels, the demand as well. So I think it's definitely an important event. Whether or not, people like Bitcoin or not, it's still for Bitcoin. For Bitcoin, it does help, I think, the story.
So it sounds like you are bullish on Bitcoin, at least for the short term. Do you have any position in Bitcoin now?
Yeah, so I took a small position in the beginning of January. The reason why I did it was because I saw short-term potential, because the demand for Bitcoin, the belief that people have is so strong, and it feels it's growing. That demand. And so I saw short-term potential. I have long-term reservations though, because even though I see maybe for the next, 2, 3, 4 years, I could see Bitcoin going up probably significantly. It all depends on demand, but I also do see potentially one day it could crash very fast, and there could be a lot of people who get hurt as well. So it's something, I have mixed opinions on right now.
Yeah, sure. Talking about the Tesla's purchase on Bitcoin, if I understand it correctly, the buying Bitcoin will have an impact not only for the company's balance sheet, but also income statement with a gap earning being fluctuated according to the Bitcoin price. Please, can you share your thoughts on this risk?
Yeah, so with Bitcoin, they're not allowed to count Bitcoin as cash on their balance sheet. So it becomes this intangible asset where if Bitcoin goes up, let's say Bitcoin doubles in price, they can't really put that in their income statement. So it's not profit for them.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Bitcoin price goes down, that loss, they need to report it as a loss in their income statement for GAAP earnings. And so if Bitcoin goes down by half, then Tesla's earnings will go down a lot because they bought $1.5 billion. If it goes down a half and a quarter, that's $750 million loss that Bitcoin would give them. And that would be going into GAAP earnings. So it makes their GAAP earnings more volatile and harder to understand for some analysts. So a couple of things. One is it might not be a big deal because people can look at their non-GAAP earnings, which should be stable. But I think the bigger issue is I think Wall Street and the big funds, the people who have billions and billions of dollars of Tesla stock, generally they are conservative money managers that don't like Bitcoin. They're very risk adverse. They think Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid scheme, and they are offended with Elon Musk. And so this has potential to slightly, maybe have some big hedge fund managers or fund managers become a bit more skeptical of Tesla. And I think that's one of the reasons this past week we did see the stock price dip a bit because I think some people aren't very happy about the move.
I could understand it because if you have a big amount of investment in your portfolio, you are more concerned about risk management rather than growth, right? So I think exactly. Bitcoin is more about growth with a high risk. So what about you? Have you changed any investment plans with Tesla after hearing the Bitcoin news? Do you think Tesla's fundamental value will have any impact from this purchase of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think I look at it from different angles. One angle is that I do think the most likely scenario is long-term. Actually, Tesla's investment in Bitcoin does work out. It actually does grow a lot and Tesla is fine. I don't think it changes Tesla's ability to produce less cars or more cars or better technology or better autonomous driving software, better batteries. I think it's neutral. It's more just a minor element of how much cash they might have. I think short term, I think it does give a little bit more volatility to the stock because it is something that usually you want a company, I want a company that's just focusing on one thing, trying to make the best product and not losing focus, no distraction. But Bitcoin becomes a little bit of a distraction that Tesla didn't have before. And so that makes the stock a little bit more volatile. It makes it more controversial. It doesn't affect my long-term view of Tesla. But every year I do sell a couple percent of my Tesla position because I'm actually reducing my Tesla position because from 2012 to 2017 or 18, I was actually accumulating too much Tesla. So what I did was I went 100% Tesla, and then I exercised some long dated option calls that I had bought in 2013, where I was able to buy Tesla very cheap, but I needed to borrow some money to exercise those calls. And so I actually had some margin also for a few years, and I needed to pay that off very fast, which I did. But what ended up happening was I kind of had too many Tesla shares for my, I was overextended until 2019. And I was waiting for Tesla to kind of make its break up, because many people in the early Tesla community, we knew that Tesla was being suppressed. And one time, if Tesla can really deliver the Model 3 in bulk numbers, then people would realize the potential of Tesla. And so starting last year, I just started kind of, selling a couple percent because I need to bring down my Tesla position into a more normal, 80 or 90% position. Yeah. I mean, if I had to start all over, actually, I don't think I would probably put it all in Tesla. Like some people ask me if I had to start over, what would I do? I think my strategy is I actually would find companies that I have the highest conviction in that could do maybe a 10x in 5 or 10 years.
Mhm.
And I would divide it up into different proportion into maybe Tesla, SpaceX, Stripe. Stripe is a private company right now, but I would try to find a way to get in, and a few other companies that I would have, maybe about 5 companies that I would probably spread out my investments in.
Okay. Can I ask what kind of companies now you are currently investing in with your current portfolio, apart from Tesla?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still 95% or actually higher in Tesla still. I think it's going to take me many years to diversify more. But I actually have, one of the things is because my first investments have grown over like 100 times their value,
Yeah.
I'm able to take some of that and invest into new companies. So for example, last year I invested into a company called Lemonade. It's an insurance company. And the stock was at $54. I did some research for a few weeks, and I felt like I thought it could do a 10x within 5 or 10 years. And so I did my investment, and I hold that position because I felt like it's large enough where I won't regret putting in too little. Like one of the things, if I find a great company, I don't want to regret later that I didn't put enough. So I put in enough where if it goes to 10x, then it's going to be a good amount. And so I put in that amount, and now I'm happy with just waiting and monitoring, hold that company for 20 or 30 years. That's my goal, to hold Lemonade for that long. But yeah, I also look into some companies in the genomic space I'm researching. I'm looking into some companies in the battery supply chain. So companies that might supply parts or materials to Tesla. I'm also looking into home builders right now. I think something's happening with homes, the real estate market, where so many people are buying, and these home builders are able to raise their prices. But this is a short-term play. I don't really believe in the long-term potential of home builders, but I think the next 1 year, it might be actually pretty good for their stocks. But then there's a lot of my viewers are giving me tips now too. I'm getting more tips, and then I do my own research, and I'm finding, there's some interesting opportunities. And so it's a lot of different, things that I'm looking into.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Actually, I need to say thank you to you as well, because after we spoke last October, I also paid attention to Lemonade, and I found out it was a very attractive company with a very healthy philosophy and a very creative business model. So I put my position at least starting from December or November, and so far the stock price is going up quite well. So thank you for that.
Definitely. Well, I don't take any credit, because if it goes down, I don't want to take any blame.
No worries.
I know my lesson.
Next question would be, I believe you are very active, and you are a part of big Tesla investors community. What kind of reactions do you see from other Tesla shareholders, and do you see any significant moves among them?
Regarding Bitcoin, correct?
Because of the Bitcoin situation, do you see any big changes among Tesla investors?
Yeah, so it's fascinating to me. I did a poll on Twitter, and several thousand people answered. I said, it's only for Tesla shareholders. Please reply. Do you approve or disapprove of Tesla buying $1.5 billion of Bitcoin? I was actually very surprised. 80% people said they approve of Tesla buying Bitcoin. 20% said they didn't approve. I thought it would be more, closer mixed. But what I noticed is the more money that a person has in Tesla, the less happy they are with Tesla buying Bitcoin. It's interesting. For example, I have a friend who has 100,000 shares of Tesla. So that's $85 million of just Tesla stock. And he's not very happy right now. And then there's another person on Twitter. His name is Gary Black. He's part of the Tesla community. He's been very a vocal bull for Tesla. He was a hedge fund manager before. but he sold all of his Tesla shares after Tesla bought Bitcoin because he really hates Bitcoin. And I noticed the more money that a person has in Bitcoin, or the bigger the fund is, the less happy they're going to be. But the average retail investor is actually very happy usually. 80% of people actually approve of Elon Musk and Tesla buying Bitcoin. It's interesting.
Okay. 80% is quite big portion.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I don't think we need to worry about Tesla stocks being crashed by the Bitcoin news. What about you? Have you amended your exit plans for Tesla? Because you just mentioned that you are selling just a small portion every year. But what kind of big events would you consider as a trigger to sell Tesla stocks in the future?
Yes, I have two mindset. One is every year I sell a couple percent, but if the stock price I feel is a little high, or if there's some bad news, I might sell that 1 or 2% earlier in the year. So, I might sell, a little bit here or there if there's bad news, if I don't like what I see. Long term though, I look for the potential. Has the story changed? 10 years down the road, I'm always thinking in 10 years. In 10 years down the road, is are they becoming more dominant or less dominant? So if Tesla is becoming, I think, less dominant when I think 10 years, then I'm going to question my investment. But what's interesting is Tesla is just growing more and more dominant, I think, in the past few years. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still holding on like my outsized position. But if the long-term story changes, then I will probably change, how I view Tesla.
So for now, you do not have any changes on Tesla's evaluation. You still see a bright future for next 5 years, next 10 years. No changes from last interview.
Yeah. So the three things that I think are the most important thing is autonomous driving. Number 2 is batteries. How cheap and how good the batteries are. And number 3 is manufacturing. And so when I look at a company like, let's say, Apple computers going into cars, how are they going to manage these three things? Can they make better batteries than Tesla? That's going to be very, very hard.
Yeah.
Are they going to make better full self-driving software than Tesla? It's going to be hard without the data, right? The cars. Are they going to be making better manufacturing than Tesla? It's hard because Apple doesn't even make their own phones. They outsource it to Foxconn. So it's hard for almost any other company to compete with Tesla on all three. And so that makes me just more bullish on Tesla's long term. And also, it's very rare to find an entrepreneur like Elon Musk. I think he's truly a generational leader. And so my tendency is, if everything is going well and I have a generational company and a generational leader and generational product, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, then I will just sit back and relax and let the company continue to grow and surprise me. If there's continuous disappointment, and I see their long-term story change, then I will reevaluate at that time.
That leads to my last question. Maybe you are not really feeling because you have a very huge position in Tesla, but people like me who has many different stocks in the portfolio, last couple of months was really a special, very particular, because it's like every month your stocks, your gain is like a 10%, 15%. So it's crazy at the moment. And due to that big growth, many people are starting to worry that there could be a huge crash and we are going into the bubble and so on. Could you share what is your general thoughts about this stock market? Do you believe there's a huge bubble and there could be a big crash like year 2000, or do you believe it's still okay to hang on there? What is your opinion about general market situation at the moment?
Yeah, I look at it two angles.